What's going on, gamers? This is DBMgamer here. So Bungie just released their weekly update and started talking about patch 1.1.1. Now, as a lot of people may know, if you remember how the Dark Below went, there was kind of a pre-patch to kind of settle stuff before the Dark Below rolled in. So this is kind of exciting. But before I get into talking about that, I have to get to my shoutouts. My shoutouts is how I show appreciation back to the community that has gotten me this far. And I want to give shoutouts to the Exo Stranger. Yeah, guys, I love me some crazy Destiny fans. Boo Wilkinson, Andres Medina, Javon Dallas, Blazar Andromeda, Ty Nation, Chris Hudson, and Tim Sparks. So first and foremost, Bungie has started putting out soft deadlines for the House of Wolves expansion. Now, you may remember earlier this week, there was a leak for what possibly may be the armor and possibly may be the weapons for that DLC. Now, in that same release, the guy that actually got the leak, I'm not sure exactly how he was coming up to this, but he was saying that the release date was possibly March 19th. Well, according to Bungie, they're saying something sort of along the lines of quarter number 2. Now, quarter number 2 basically means it's a 3-month period of about April, May, and June. Now, what you may not know is the reason why it's being referred to as quarter number 2 is actually this is Activision speak. Yes, that's right. Speaking during the company's fourth quarter 2014 earnings call, Activision Publishing CEO Eric Hirshberg reaffirmed that the launch of Destiny House of Wolves DLC for the second quarter of 2015. He also says that there will be a major content release for the fall, and after that, there's going to be a very robust pipeline plan after that. Now, those are his words. So let's bring up the schedule that everybody's been looking at. Nah, that's kind of muddy. Let's talk about this one. Alright, this one comes from Little Big Okie, I believe. It looks like his. But this is a nice clean picture of what the supposed release schedule is going to be. Now, as far as House of Wolves coming March 10th, that's apparently not going to happen. It's going to be bumped back possibly to April. And as far as that major content release for the fall, oh yeah, I believe that's the plague of the comet, guys. And lastly, at the very end of that, as he said, a robust pipeline of content. Well, looking at the end of this, you also see 2 more DLCs planned for the end of it. Now, this is some pretty exciting news, saying that there's going to be quite a lot of Destiny yet to come. Now, in preparation for that upcoming DLC, what Bungie likes to do is they want to kind of try and balance the playing field and also fix any bugs that they've got that are still present. Now, first and foremost, coming in this patch 1.1.1 will be the heavy ammo fix that they talked about earlier last week. Now, that's pretty good news. But what may not be such good news is that they are planning on changing how all the weapons work in Destiny, or at least most of the weapons. Now, check out this chart. This is showing you what weapons are popular in PvE activities. Now, you see, of course, auto rifles top of the chart, scout rifles very close behind, pulse rifles very low at just only 6%, and then hand cannons, one of my favorites, is sitting at 13. Now, let's compare those numbers to what it looks like when you're in a round of Crucible. And once again, you see auto rifles, everyone's very high on them in Crucible. I am as well. That's the one time I definitely will only run an auto rifle. The scout rifle's really doing weak. Pulse rifle's even worse than that. And hand cannons, well, you got to be pretty skilled to use a hand cannon in Crucible. But the common denominator in both of these is that pulse rifles are pretty much junk. A lot of people do not like them. I'm amongst that group. I'm not really a fan of it. The recoil on it makes it a little bit tough to get the long range kills, whereas I really don't struggle that much even with just plain auto rifles. So what that means is changes are in the works. Now, you would look at that and you'd say the first thing that I would do, well, okay, well, pulse rifles are very lagging behind. Let's give them a nice big buff. Well, it's not so simple. Bungie is, yes, planning on a nice buff for the pulse rifles, but they're also going to give a slight nerf to your auto rifles. Now, we're not talking a major change, just 2.5% base damage is what they're talking about. But what's really going to hurt is when you use your auto rifle at long range. They're going to increase the damage drop off. So at long range, you may just want to switch over to your sniper rifle to get those kills in. So as far as the pulse rifle change, how much are they changing it by? Would you believe nearly a full 10% base damage increase? Yeah, that is a major chunk of damage increase. Now, what I can't quite wrap my head around is why they feel the need to mess with the other weapons, because they also want to tweak the hand cannons. Now, as everybody knows, I'm a very big fan of Thorn, and the reason why is because it's one of the most rangy hand cannons in the game. Yeah, the damage over time effect is really cool, and if you're patient with your shot, you can pretty much outdamage any other weapon. But what they want to do is they want to reduce the damage drop-off for all hand cannons. Now, if that wasn't enough, a slight reduction to the initial accuracy. They say it won't be noticeable at close or medium ranges, but when you go for those long-range shots, you'll kind of notice they're not as accurate as what they once were. Now moving on down the line, fusion rifles. Yeah, that's right, fusion rifles are going to get a tweak too. They're actually going to change the cone of fire that the fusion rifles spray on, and that'll make them not as effective at long range, but they'll still be very good at close and medium. So that's not too bad of a change, I think. Because most times in Crucible, when you're firing a fusion rifle on somebody, you're pretty close to them anyway. But speaking of close, there's nothing that gets the job done in close quarters like shotguns. Shotguns actually sit in the number 2 position of most used weapons in PvP. Whereas auto rifle sits at about 20%, shotguns actually sit right close to it with 15%. But the problem with that is when you flip the script and you look at how it does in PvE, it's almost unused at all. And I gotta admit, the only time that I ever really use a shotgun myself in PvE is really when we're doing the Abyss in the new raid and you're getting swarmed by thralls. Yeah, the shotgun is great in that instance, but that's about it. So what are they going to do to tweak these values? Well, they're going to make the damage fall off a little bit closer in Crucible, so you won't have quite as much range as what you did before. But the big change is on PvE. Shotguns will now do 2 times the damage on all non-guardian combatants. So yeah, anything that comes up to you, if you pull out a shotgun on it, you're going to do monster damage to it. So since we're on the topic of weapons, I was just curious, what do you think is the coolest looking weapon in Destiny? Now personally, I would have to say the Last Word or a Gallahorn, or maybe even something actually like the Monte Carlo, since we're not talking about, overall power stats. Just, what do you think is just very eye appealing to you? Alright guys, just leave that in the comment. If you like this type of content, just hit that like button, or leave a comment on what you think is the coolest looking weapon in Destiny. Or if you want to see more, just hit that subscribe button. But as always guys, have a good one.